So again, we do import those 1,000 for you, but you still may have questions left over, or in the future, might just be easiest to create them in Word documents and then bring them over. So when we are ready to import a document, we will move into this import queue. So we're going to stay within the same course, but just move over to this tab. And now I'll actually take a break from the portal to pull up one of your documents here. So this is one that I think, I don't know if Melissa added it or somebody added it yesterday to our Google Drive. And so I'm just going to open it up to show you kind of what these look like and then how they can be edited. So we'll see, I think most of these are multiple choice, so we can see here, so no problem. And so what we're going to do is first we need to get rid of any of these kind of cover pages or headers or anything like that, because our importer, it just wants to see the items. So we're just going to go ahead and get rid of all of this, and we just want to look at our items. So I'm just going to probably work with the first 6 or so here, but it applies to all of them below. So what we need to do is we have some specifics that need to take place in order to be able to format these and import them appropriately. And so one of the things that's very common with Word documents that needs to be changed is all of these additional spaces that we have here. So for our importer, every question needs to have a question number, so that's good, we have that. But every question also can only have one space in between the number and then the question stem. So it's kind of weird, but that's just how it was set up. And so we need to kind of reformat this so that we don't have any of those additional spaces. And so the easiest way to do that is to just select all of the questions. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy or cut them. So make a copy, but get them off of this document. So I'm going to go ahead and cut. I'm just going to move these other questions down a bit. And then I'm going to paste them back, but I'm going to paste special, or if you are on a Windows, I believe it's paste as plain text. So I'm going to paste special, and I'm going to bring these back as unformatted. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Whoa, I don't know what happened there. I was wondering why it was taking so long to go down. Let's see. Come on. All right, I'm just going to copy a new set. So I'm going to go ahead and copy these here.
Because our questions, they're doing it for us. This is for everybody else.
This wasn't power.
So I'm going to do that paste special, unformatted. Okay, here we go. So now we have them pasted as that unformatted text. So it looks a little wonky here, but we'll be able to kind of get rid of all of these extra spaces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the space, which is kind of weird. I'm going to copy the space, and then I'm going to use the find and replace feature. So I can paste it into here if I want to. I'm going to use find and replace. And so it's going to locate any of those spaces that has those, or any of those areas that have those extra spaces. And so then I'm just going to replace this with a single space so that now I should only have one space in between my question stem and then my answer choice. And so the same thing goes for these. We just want one space in between our answer option and then our actual answer. So that looks good to go as well. I'm not sure why this one added some weird things here, because when I edited this document earlier, I can show you what it looks like. So that might just be something I did this time that made it go a little funky, because this is what I was working on earlier today, and I just went through all of those same steps to get it formatted appropriately. And then the last thing that we need to do is to indicate what the correct answer is. So I think on these, the answer key was at the bottom of the document, which is fine. Just when you go to make the import file, you will need to indicate as an asterisk what the correct answer is, just kind of above with the rest of the document. And so this is what it would look like once it is formatted appropriately. You know, just have gotten rid of any of those extra little spaces, have our asterisk. We do want it kind of, left justified and all in the same line is best. But basically, that's the changes you can make to then have this file ready for importing. And so once you get the hang of it, it's really not bad. I formatted a few different documents this morning over the course of like 5 or 10 minutes. But it does take a little bit of time to get used to it and practicing what works best and figuring out some shortcuts. But once you do, it's not too bad of a process. And I think I heard you say we're doing all of these for you, and it's up to the other people to do theirs. So that's
yeah. Sorry.
Things heard. So
Not to show them. So,
So it'll be really easy for y'all because, yep, we'll be making all of those changes and then getting them in there for you. But for those future people, if they need that, we do have a really helpful resource in our Help Center. So if you go to Admin and then Help Center, if you just search for like import guidelines within here, we can look at these different articles, and you all are using our new portal. And so we have these question importing guidelines for a Word document. And I mean, it has a lot of information in here, but it goes by each of the different question types and tells you how those can be imported. So it's a really nice document here. It tells you really everything you would need to know to be able to format them appropriately and get them into your portal. And I know we just looked at the formatting for the multiple choice items there. So I'm just pulling up my mock exam that I will add into your system here. And if you do want to import, or maybe you have in the future any fill in the blank questions or true false, this is just how those get kind of formatted. So for fill in the blank, for when you get to the blank, you'll just have 2 underscores. Then if it's 1 blank, it would be an A. If you have a second blank, that would be a B. And then followed by 2 more underscores. And then below is where you can indicate what the correct answer is. This one doesn't have to have an asterisk because it's just letting us know that this answer goes with A here. For true false question, well, I think you said you don't really use those, so that one doesn't really matter. Hotspot questions you'll have to create in the portal. We can't import those. Same as matching, because we need to use the table. We just can't do an import for those. So fill in the blank, normal, and multiple choice or select all that apply, you can certainly import. But I think any of the other question types you use, those would need to be manually imported. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add in the Exemplify demo, or not demo, but the kind of practice exam. And so when you're ready to actually upload or import your files, again, going to that import queue, click upload, and then you can just drag and drop the file or locate it on your device. So I'm just going to drag and drop mine here from my other screen. And then once we have that in, once this status says ready for review, you'll be able to click into your Word document, and then you'll see the 2, most likely you'll see 2 filters that we've used kind of on the back end to be able to identify the questions. So for Word documents, you'll always use this legacy template. But if you do forget, you'll just want to look for the template or the filter that has the most questions formatted and the fewest amount of errors. So if we compare these 2, it's pretty obvious that this is the one we want to look at. So then I'm going to want to click into this pencil icon here, and I'll be able to see any of the questions that were in my file or in my document. So I can see that they've all been brought over, correct answers are indicated, all that good stuff. If for some reason there were some errors, for example, maybe I forgot to indicate one of the correct answers, forgot to add that asterisk, this does a pretty good job of letting you know what is wrong when you do have errors. So if we had any errors, it would show up in bright red little block here and let us know, for example, that no correct answers were indicated, or some of the other items that we might have written incorrectly. So for the most part, it does a good job, but you might just want to double check that everything looks good here. Of course, this one's pretty good to go. But if you did need to make any edits, or maybe you wanted to change the question title, or you wanted to add in your categories, you can do all of that right here within this kind of import queue area. Once you're done making all of your changes, or you've just double checked that everything looks good, then to finish the process, you'll click this little import button. And so here you can either save these questions to your question bank, which would of course move them over into this little tab here, or you can choose to create a new assessment with these questions. So for my example, this is our enhanced, our Exemplify mock exam. And so I would want to choose to go ahead and create a new assessment with these questions, because this is really what the meat of my exam is going to be. So sometimes people are just adding questions because they know they need to use the questions in the future, so they just want to add them to the question bank. But as I think all of the questions that were added, they were added in formats that were, exam 1 or final exam. So in that instance, it makes sense to just go ahead and kind of click this create new assessment button, because it's going to take all 50 or 75 of those questions and automatically move them into an exam for you. That way, when you go to build out the exam, you just have to set up your assessment options, but you don't have to go and locate all 50 or 100 questions. They're already all put together for you. And so because of that, when our technician adds the import files for you, he's going to look at them and make sure everything looks as it should. So they'll be ready to go, but we are going to leave them in the import queue for you in whatever course you want them added in. So that way you can come in here, click that pencil icon, and then just click that create new assessment or save to question bank. So it'll kind of be your decision what you want to do with them. With the way yours look to be set up, I highly recommend just creating an assessment with them, but it's completely up to you.
If you create a new assessment, then it's stored as that exam.
So it'll create that assessment and it'll show up in that assessments tab, but it will also save the questions into the question bank. So you can certainly do it again or later on. So you'll have both options.
Oh, cool. Great. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll just briefly go into, if I do create assessment here, again, we'll go over this in a lot more detail in our next training, but you'll just choose the title as well as what type of assessment, and then create. And then I'm going to skip this for now, but if we go into this build assessment part, it automatically brings all those questions in here for us. So we don't have to go through and search through that question bank to be able to locate them. However, if I go into this question bank, my questions are there as well. So if I want to use them in the future, I can certainly do so.
Okay.
Any questions about the importing or manually creation of items?
Not until we start doing it. Absolutely.
Makes sense.
It makes perfect sense right now.
It does. It does. It's absolutely.